I am often asked, Professor Capko, what is the best advice you can give to me? Well, you've come to the right place because I'm going to tell you that advice that I tell people, and I'm going to tell it to you in this video. But first, I want to say something wonderful is going to happen for you very soon. Be on the lookout for it. And now back to the video. So, what is the best advice that I can give to you? Well, it's pretty simple. Write things down. I'm serious. Get yourself a notebook of some sort, whatever you like, this kind of notebook, this kind of notebook, whatever you want, and write things down. Write what down? Everything that comes to mind. Ideas, lists, things you need to pick up at the store, things that you want to do, goals, systems, names of songs you like. Write these things down because your mind will not remember them. You will not remember them. I cannot tell you how many things and how many wonderful, fantastic, unbelievable, multi-million dollar ideas that I've forgotten. I mean, I literally can't tell you because if you forget, you don't even remember that you forgot it. And I'm serious about that because even writing things down, I'll go back through some of my old notebooks and see that, wait a minute, I completely forgot I had that idea. So even when I wrote it down, I forgot I had the idea. But going back through the notebooks, then that reminded me. If I hadn't written it down, that idea would be gone forever. And that's a very long time. So even though it sounds simple, and it is, and it sounds like I'm being a little bit flippant, I'm not. I'm serious. You need to write down things, especially if you're serious about business or professionalism or going somewhere in life. Write things down. People's names. Maybe you meet somebody and you want to remember their name. Write it down the first chance you get, and that way you won't forget. And I also find that sometimes when I write things down, I remember them even without looking at what I wrote. And the act of writing something down really helps in that regard. And there's other ways of doing it, of course. You could do it electronically. On my phone, I've got a stylus and I can use that to write things down. And that is one way, and I do use that often. But there's just nothing that beats writing on good old paper and pencil or pen. And it doesn't matter what kind of notebook you get. And if you'd prefer to do it electronically, that's perfectly fine. My problem is when I do it electronically, I find it harder to find unless I make some sort of system to organize. And then I spend my whole life organizing these thoughts, and then I stop bothering to write them down because it's too much work. In a notebook, I just jot those ideas down. I don't organize them. I do write down the date. I often write down the date, not always, but I write down the date just because it gives me some perspective when I'm looking back at it. But you don't have to do that. That's not required. But like if I'm writing down goals or thoughts on something, sometimes I will write down the date. But whatever way you want to do it, it is perfectly fine. The point is, make sure you write things down. And this is not because, some people think, oh, I don't remember stuff because I'm getting older. And that's not the case. Your mind is designed for creativity. Your mind is not a filing cabinet. Use your mind. Don't waste space or energy trying to memorize things, unless you need to for a test, of course, or for something you need in the short term. It's more important that you use your time and your energy being creative and not just writing things down. Use the power of your mind to be creative instead of trying to memorize a whole bunch of stuff. That's a better use of your energy and your mental resources. Write them down. You're not going to regret it. and that way you'll have it for the future. Also, you could also do memos, record memos, and I do that sometimes if I'm driving, and obviously I can't write down things when I'm driving, so I'll just record a voice recording. But I do try and transcribe that later into writing. There is just something about using your hand and writing it down. I mean, you could type the notes as well. That's good. And if that's your way, I'm not the one to tell you what works for you because you need to find out what works for you and what works best because you want to do this habit throughout your life. For me, writing on paper with a pen is the best. It just, my mind works the best that way. And that is something I've done for decades. I've done it. I can look at old notebooks that I wrote decades ago and be rekindled of ideas that I had. And it's not, again, not just ideas. It might be somebody explained something to you, you need to write it down. Maybe it's something that you want to remember to do, or maybe it's a new habit you want to form. Write it down. The act of writing it down will not only help you remember, but it will also inspire you. And it's really kind of cool to sit back and go look through those old notebooks and see those great ideas. And if you're young, start it now. You'll be able to look at back at it down the road. And if you're not so young, that's good too. Go ahead and do that. Write those things down. You're not going to regret it. Some of the greatest creators out there do so. Um, they there's a lot of lyricists that um, are great singers, and they write their own lyrics, and they just write ideas down. They write things they hear down, and when they have an idea, I heard an interview with David Lee Roth. Was the lead singer for Van Halen, and of course he's actually very intelligent. The way he acts on stage, you wouldn't necessarily think so, but if you hear him interviewed, he is quite an intelligent individual, and he would describe his process. Eddie Van Halen might start a guitar riff of some sort, and then David Lee Roth would then go through his notebooks of just ideas and pieces of lyrics that just popped into his head, and he would go through those notebooks until he found something that he felt fit that guitar riff, and would then go from there and create the rest of the song, and the rest is history. So whether you're a fan of Van Halen or not, you've got to appreciate that process. And it's a great creative process. It's a great use of your mind. And I think you're going to like it. What is your method for remembering things? Do you have a method? Put it down in the comments below. And if I missed something, please feel free to comment there. If you like this kind of content, please give this a thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And I would love it if you would subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Thank you.